Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 12th Stakpak Ship It session. So, if you haven't been to Ship It before, what we do is we take coding agents and we try to real life DevOps tasks live and see how the agents would perform. So, we learn how to build better agents, and you learn the limitations of existing agents, what they can and cannot do when it comes to infrastructure and production like work. Um, yeah, so today Noor won't be joining us because he's giving a talk in like a Google, like in AWS cloud in Istanbul. So he won't be joining us. It will be just me and our guest. And yeah, our guest is joining shortly. As always, like with live sessions, you always get like technical difficulties last minute. But yeah, so what we were going to do today is we have like a tech lead from Tekunda, which is a company building DevOps specific workflows, like or the DevOps platform for Salesforce application, which is something very interesting. Like I didn't know like Salesforce applications needed DevOps, but apparently they do, and it's super complicated. That's why Tekunda exists. And yeah, let's see if their tech lead is able to join. So he was just here online, but yeah, it was just kicked out by the internet and is trying to join back. And what we're going to do is we're going to deploy something on Google Cloud Run. So I haven't deployed something on Google Cloud Run for ages now. So I'm happy to see how we can do this with Stakpak. But yeah. Okay, so the reason we picked Tekunda over to join us is DevOps Days Cairo is just around the corner next Saturday, and Tekunda will be speaking about like how they managed to build this platform, really cool platform for DevOps for Salesforce, and we're also giving a couple of talks showing new stuff we never like showed publicly before, like analytics on how people are using Stakpak. So over the past month and a half, I think we had more than 250 people try out Stakpak for different use cases. And to share some of this data, like or the different use cases, what people are doing with Stakpak Live today in the DevOps Days, Cairo. So we're super excited about this. Like every year, the event is even larger than the year before, so it's very exciting. Yeah, so that's why Sekunda is joining us. So yeah, while our guest is figuring out like the the outage issue, we can actually start. So here, I set up something for the Ship It session number 12. And what we're going to do now is we're going to create vibe code an app quickly, an Next.js app, and then deploy it on Google Cloud Run. So as I said, like my Google Cloud Run experience is pretty rusty. So we're going to figure this out as we go with Stakpak. And we're going to try do this with Terraform. So you see like how a production ready setup would look like on Google Cloud Run. Okay. So first, let's fire up Stakpak. Let's ask it to create a simple Next.js app to show my portfolio from, and I'm going to give it my GitHub on GitHub, so I can build this portfolio. I've always wanted to build like a personal site, but never got the time to do so. So yeah, let's see how it goes. So first, Stakpak is reading my GitHub portfolio. And then, yeah, we're going to vibe code a Next.js app. I haven't also built something in Next.js for a while now. I switched to pure React. But yeah. But like if you build something Next.js, before you would know like deploying Next.js app is a pain because unlike React apps where you can just like build them into static assets and serve them through a bucket and a CDN like CloudFront, an Next.js app has actually to run as a server. So you have to deploy this with something serverless like Cloud Run or Lambda functions, and then add something in front of them to do some caching, which is super complicated for a front-end app. I mean, you would guess that like after building tens of JavaScript frameworks, that things would be easier. But then Next.js, like it has a really cool features like server-side rendering and so on, but you then can't like just, yeah, you can just push it somewhere. You have to, yeah, bend backwards to deploy Next.js app on your cloud. Yeah, please, if you have any questions, just like shoot, add in the comments. I'll be switching back and forth because Noor is not available today to try take these questions as we're vibe coding and vibe deploying stuff. I think it downloaded all the packages, which it used npm. I should have used npm. Like it's much faster. Okay, it's done. Yeah, it looks like Claude just decided to pause for some reason. Yeah, just like give it a nudge. Why is it setting up a GitHub API integration? Okay, no need for GitHub integration. Now I want to keep this simple to focus on the deployment part. Yeah, exactly. I want to build it out of static data. Now it's writing the code for like the landing page displaying my portfolio. Yeah, looks like my guest is having trouble joining. So yeah, let's keep working on this. Oh, it's a lot of code. Let's actually see this first. Come on, come on, come on. Okay. It's writing a lot of code. Okay, so this is, whoa. Well, I think we found a bug. Cool. Yeah, it's perfectly reproducible. We found a bug. Okay, nice. So yeah, it's just showing part of it, but it's fine. Seems when I expand this, like we hit a bug. Nice. That's why I love the sessions. A little embarrassing, but yeah. It's always great. Okay, so use npm because yeah, npm is super slow. Yes. See how fast this is? It's going to be even faster for the latest runs, like later runs. So this live stream is going to be published on YouTube later. So later on you can just like skip through, like we add chapters, so you can skip through the part where it's everything that has to do with DevOps, we spend most of the time building and waiting for resources to be ready, which is super boring. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions about agents or using agents in DevOps in general while we wait. Yeah, that's the pain of doing DevOps live. Okay, it's starting it. Close 3000. Okay, great. So let me open it up here. See how it looks like. So Stakpak uses Claude 4 in the background. And I think, yeah, found a bug. Should have started this as a background command, but it didn't. Okay. Yeah, I just prompted it to start in the background. So now it starts Stakpak like as a background process. While I try and navigate to the app. Oh, the board is running on 301 now. Huh, found the issue. Okay, amazing. So I didn't have to navigate, like it checked it out itself. Fixing the Next.js app. So what was the issue? Needs configuration to allow external images from GitHub. Let me fix the image configuration. Nice. Yes, now it works. Now it looks like it works. Okay. So let me show you how it looks like. So here I remove this and then I need to share again, but this time share like a different window. Really looks really nice. So it scraped the data from my GitHub account, at least like featured projects, and then adds it to display it like as Next.js app. It looks really neat. Like, yeah, I suck at CSS, but this is amazing. So yeah, working on making other developers more productive and joyful. Yeah, I hope Stakpak makes you joyful. And yeah, top projects I pinned on my project. Amazing. Yeah, so looks like the project is actually working. But yeah, this time what we should do is we'd actually like just tell Stakpak that it's working and start deploying on Cloud Run. Okay, so let me share back the terminal. You should be seeing my terminal now. And then yeah, I think the test should be working. And this is something actually you can do with other agents. So like it's running the development server in the background and testing it using other queries without blocking the main thread, which is awesome. I know I'm biased, but this is completely sick. Okay, so stop the server now. Okay, so it canceled the background task. That's it. So we have a running Next.js app. So yeah, one of the most important patterns we detected, like when we figured out while using these agents a lot, is you should break down a task into smaller pieces. So here we build the app. This would be a great part, like a great time to just ask it to write a README for the project. So write a README file for the project. So it writes the details on how to run the project and like some stuff about it. And then we're going to kill the session, start a new session, read the README, and then do the deployment, because Claude can now handle and Stakpak can now handle a context window of up to 1 million tokens. But this doesn't mean necessarily that you should use 1 million tokens, because the performance of these agents degrade the more tokens you cram into the context window. So So yeah, that's the reason why you should divide things into like smaller tasks and then tackle them one at a time. So here we finished vibe coding, and now we're going to kill this. Yeah. Okay. There was a README file. Cool. Yeah, I think it was generated by the create Next.js app or something. But yeah, so we're going to create the README file, kill the task, and then start a new session, fresh session to deploy this on Google Cloud. Yeah, okay. Fixed README. And now what we can do, we can just kill the session. As you can see, yeah, that's the project, everything there. And we can actually check down the README. So here's the README. Amazing. Looks nice. Okay. So we can now fire up Stakpak again. Deploy this Next.js app on Google Cloud Run using Terraform and deploy directory. And now here to the fun DevOps part, deploying this app on Cloud Run. Yeah, so first, yeah, to explore the app, because this is a fresh session. We could have asked it to read the README, but let's see if it would do that on its own. Yeah, I didn't need to do that. Yeah, okay. What is it doing now? It's reading a Dockerization rulebook to be able to Dockerize this app to run it in Cloud Run with Docker and with like a container image, which I think is the right thing to do. So now it's going to Dockerize the app and then deploy it on Cloud Run with Terraform. I don't think, like, can't remember, like, can you run these apps on Cloud Run without like building a custom container image? I don't remember, but like, let's see how this works. So came up with a plan. So first analyze the app structure, research Google Cloud Run deployment with Terraform, create a deploy directory structure, write Docker file for Next.js app, create a Terraform configuration, validate and test deployment. Neat. It's doing some research about Google Cloud Run and Terraform, Next.js Docker production deployments on Cloud Run. Yep. So the research agent is doing some legwork. Based on the Docs Dockerization rulebook, I'll create a proper containerized deployment, create a deploy directory structure for the Docker file first. Cool. So Salam has a question. Ahmed Salam, fun question. How long it would take from a normal Cloud Run deployment for such an app without Stakpak? Yeah, like given how rusty I am on deploying stuff on Cloud Run, it will probably take me a full day of reading the Cloud Run documentation, Dockerizing stuff. I mean, I would have even to read like the Next.js documentation first. So like end to end creating this project, I'll spend some time coding Next.js and then reading Cloud Run documentation and then reading the Next.js documentation, how to build a container. Yeah, and then figuring out like looking up the Terraform provider for Google Cloud, now to read Cloud Run. Yeah, and then move on. So something interesting here happens. So first I need to enable standalone output in Next.js config for proper containerization. So this is something I wouldn't have guessed because I'm not a Next.js guru yet and I don't use Next.js often, is this. So this is something I had to customize with the Next.js configuration to be able to turn it into a container. Yeah, so this just saved me like an hour of manual work because I didn't figure this out. So that's why I would definitely read the docs first, like the Next.js documentation and read the AWS provider. So I'll do exactly what the agent did, but I'll have to go through the documentation myself instead of it having to read it for me. And yeah, I think the actual test is this actually working. So until it works, we'll see if it's going to work. But yeah, before that, be skeptical. So yeah, the main here, Terraform file, it's getting the Google provider, setting up the project ID, the region, the service name, the image tag, acquired APIs. Okay, artifact registry to push the image, and Cloud Run service to run the image with stuff created from that. So I think it's going to build an image, push it to the artifact registry, and then connect the Google Cloud service, Google Cloud Run to pull this image and actually apply it. So there's a lot of resources that need to be created to make this work. And we have to look every single one of them on the Terraform provider registry for Google before being able to configure them. Okay, so it's setting things up here. Okay. Don't put in dummy values. Set them up properly because it added placeholders. And we want this to actually work. Like, I don't want to get the project ID myself and put it in. Wait, what is it doing? It's fixing something. Okay. What does that has to do with like the prompt I made? Okay. Yeah, okay. Now it's doing it. So get the value, getting the project ID. Yeah. Now it figured out the project. Okay, so it had something on its to-do list that it had to do, like fix the Docker file, and then it's multitasking hard. Okay, now it set them properly. So so I just had to be patient. Now it's going to create a build script for the containerization process. Yeah, so what does this script do? Build script for Next.js portfolio app. So yeah, what it does is set some variables, coloring stuff. Yeah, I love how Claude writes bash scripts. Usually very colorful and cheerful. Getting the package.json, setting up GCP project, enabling services. I think this is redundant, but yeah, it's fine. And then creating the artifact repository and configuring Docker. So it's creating the repository if it doesn't exist, and then configuring Docker, authenticating to Google Cloud, creating the image name, building the image, and pushing it. And then what does that do? Okay, it finds the variables, TFRs, container image built and pushed successfully, cleaning up the build context. Init, plan, and apply Terraform. Interesting. So this automates the whole deployment. Interesting. Yeah, I think in a different, like this, because of this being a personal project, I will use this script. But I think later on, if I want to automate this, I would just ask it to turn this script into a CI/CD pipeline, so I can automate this in the future. Okay, so it says it finished this stuff, but yeah, test the container and deploy. So it made some estimates on the resources I would need, which is nice. Let's see if this would work. So it's going to test the container locally, deploying Google Cloud Run, and then validate the deployment. So yeah, cd deploy, copy app, copy what? Don't copy the project around. Leave as is. because this is crazy. Like, why would I be copying the project app inside the deployment directory? It's weird. Yeah, this makes more sense. I don't know, like Docker is going to build with like files from a parent directory, but let's see if this would work. If not, like we'd just move the Docker file to the app, which it usually should be. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's been confused because of the directory structure. So here, you see, I have a portfolio app and a deploy, but deploy should actually have been inside the portfolio app, but I didn't do that. Yeah, I confused the hell out of it. It's thinking very hard now. So we can do just move deploy inside the app directory and the Docker file out of deploy. Be able to see the context. Just needed to rearrange things around. So yeah, as with every like ship it session, I didn't test this before, which is part of the fun. So I'm doing this for the first time with Stakpak. Okay, this makes more sense. Yep. Yeah, so now it's updating the build script. What? Okay. Whoa. Yeah, so Claude lately have been very stubborn about file edits. Yeah, it figured it out. So yeah. So we tried nudging it to, if it fails multiple times at like replacing stuff, to read the file again before trying to replace. But yeah, it usually takes it a couple of attempts. We're working on a very secret project now to prevent these issues, or like at least make recovery much faster. Because still, like LLMs are LLMs, like there are still quirks in how they work. And being able to recover quickly, this is going to be a big deal. And it's super important. Okay. Yeah, removing all the extra stuff. So here, let me show you Docker file. It's a great Docker file. So it uses a minimal base image, Alpine. It's a multi-stage build, but it also uses a non-root user to run the server, which is, yeah, exactly what we want. Now it's building the Docker file to test it before pushing it to Google Cloud Run. Yeah, I just realized when I switch to check your questions, it stops streaming the terminal. So this is what happened when I pause here. Yeah, it's funny. I think it found an issue on the build. Neat. Okay. So what is it doing now? Yeah, here's the issue. Yes. Okay. Okay. Now it's building again. Okay. I love this. Here, this part. I love this part. So what it's trying to do here is not run the container as root, which is one of the most important things that people forget, like developers forget when they're building containers, to not run. So the container is isolated, but like giving inside the root user, like using the root user inside the container allows for more attack vectors for container escape. So this is something super important, but developers forget about it. And if developers try to implement it, they usually like hit some snags with file permissions, because then you need to add more instructions on setting up file permissions. And this is one of the cool things that you can outsource to an agent, like figuring out how to make this work without a root user. Okay, it found another bug. Yeah, containerizing stuff is a pain. Yeah, created a Docker ignore file to exclude my local node modules. We're almost there. Building again. Something failed. Yeah, it's trying to use pnpm, but pm is not available in the container. So we're going to include it in the development stage. Yeah. Is it listed as a dev tool? That's odd. I don't know. Like, so is it including in the dependent package of JSON? No, it's not. Okay, so this won't solve anything. Oh, it's copying the pnpm log file. Okay, I think it should include it like pnpm dependencies. So it's not in the dev dependencies. I don't know why it made that assumption, but yeah, maybe I should tell it. Okay, let's see if it's going to figure it out on its own first. Okay, what is it doing? What is that? Okay, so yeah, let's just ask it to add PNPM as a build time dependency. Still have 30 minutes left, but I'm sure we'll be done before that. Fingers crossed. PNPM, not just NPM. That's weird. I mean, Claude is acting out. Like I said, PNPM. Oh, no, I said NPM. It's my fault. Claude is not acting out. I'm just, yeah, terrible at typing. Exactly, that's it. Let's build again. Installing dependencies. Building. Yeah, and if you have any questions about agents, I mean, I would love to share about how to build this stuff. Yeah, I think the build, it's building. Yeah, there are a couple of questions. So Ahmed is asking about any spoilers about the DevOps Days Cairo talk. No agent crashing live. Yeah, it's always fun to crash agents live. I mean, that's part of why we do this. Yeah, we love, yeah, torturing agents and ourselves and crashing live. Yeah, so we're going to do live demos at the DevOps Days Cairo, but we're also going to share data or like categories of how we found, like after a lot of research, like how people use agents today when they do DevOps and what works and what doesn't work. We're also going to share some anti-patterns, 3 anti-patterns and 3 patterns of how to do agents well. One of these patterns, anti-patterns, is using the same session to do multiple things, like how we did now. Like we broke down things into multiple sessions, yeah, to keep the agent crisp and focused. So that's one of the practices we're going to talk about. Like, and we have 5 other things to mention. Yeah, so Mustafa is asking, could we alter this Dockerization rulebook to include what the agent missed out here or did wrong? Stakpak listened to it if I did so. Yes, definitely. So we can create a specialized rulebook for Dockerizing Next.js applications that would, for example, like prioritize using PNPM, for example. Because here, like I had to prompt it to use PNPM and it's not using PNPM by default. And when it built the container, it didn't take that in consideration as well. So it's not using PNPM. I think because it missed reading the README as well. So we can definitely like fork the rulebook, add more stuff about reading READMEs or prioritizing reading READMEs, which make it like better in general. But we can also fork the Dockerization rulebook and then customize it to build for Next.js applications because they're complicated to build. And yeah, if you're not familiar with the rulebook, a rulebook is like your agent.md or like rules file, but it's shared. It's something that you can create and publish online, and then other people can use it. We have some official rulebooks for common stuff like built-in containers, but you can also create your own. And that's what I mean by like forking a rulebook and customizing it. But yeah, if you have requests for specific rulebooks, like stuff that has to do with Next.js or Google Cloud, you can ask us, and like we will like build a rulebook. It's fixing some nits, like the warnings we got while we were building here. So far, we have rulebooks for different things. You've seen like in the previous Ship It sessions, like yeah, cost optimization, for example, and other things like Dockerization, load testing, I guess. We also have a rulebook about like end-to-end production-ready deployments on virtual machines, on infrastructure software upgrades like Kubernetes upgrades, and we keep adding stuff. But like if you have anything like you want us to support, just like shoot us a message on Discord, and we'd love to add it. We have an internal process of like building and optimizing rulebooks, but you can also experiment. Like last Ship It, I think like Noor went live trying to write his own rulebook about like building AWS architectures that follow the well-architected framework. So yeah, rulebooks can be about anything. So here tried running the container, but it hit a snag. Like it hit another, like the port was already listening. Try a different port. Should have done that on his own, but yeah. I'm not sure why it hanged. Okay, it's running in 8080. There's a conflicting container name. Why is the container already running? Okay, it seems like it ran the container twice. Okay, it's going to clean up the existing container and run it again. Okay, so Ahmed is asking a question. In case I close the terminal, can I resume an old conversation? Yes, you can definitely can. So how you can do this is you can like, let me quit here. You can do Stakpak. You can do two things. So you can / resume a session, or you can actually navigate like the older sessions here to choose something to resume. But you can also pick a checkpoint and just like resume for a specific checkpoint. So here you see the checkpoint IDs being printed like within every message. So you can resume to any point in history or just like the latest checkpoint in a session. Okay, container built successfully. Now it's going to test it. Let me try accessing the container. So it's port 8081, right? Let me see if you can see it in my browser. 8081. Yeah, it's working. So the container is working. I can test it. Like I can see it. I can access the app in my browser. It looks good. It's checking the logs. Amazing. So we containerize it. Now let's deploy it to Google Cloud Run. We have 14 minutes, 15 minutes to do it. Amazing. Okay. It's working. Let's deploy to Cloud Run. So I'm trying to make it pick up the speed instead of like trying to test it that it's working like 5 or 10 different ways. Yes, finally. Okay, it's removing the test container to clean things up. Now time to deploy. Now we're testing the build script. Woo! Enabling required APIs, creating artifact registry repository, creating request issue, waiting for operation to complete. Okay, I'm a little confused. So I'm not sure which parts of the setup is done using Terraform and which parts done here. So of course, enabling the APIs should be done with the CLI, but this creating the artifact registry repository, I'm not sure if Terraform code actually did that. So let me check. So here we cat like Let's actually use Hex. Helix. Okay. Deploy. Main. So did it create an artifact registry? I'm very rusty when it comes to Google Cloud. Whoa. Artifact registry repository. So this is the output. Where is the registry itself? Where is it? Google artifact is okay. Yeah, so I think the command it ran is redundant, but it's going to figure this out. So it's pushing the image. And when it runs Terraform and we hit the snag where this is redundant, I'll just ask it to do some Terraform plumbing and actually import the state. Yeah, it's going to take some time to upload this. Times like these make me wish that like I live next to a Google data center. So one point in time I was in Frankfurt, and we were literally like 50 meters away from an IXP connected to a Google data center. And it was crazy. Like the internet was crazy fast and like the latency was crazy slow. It's like being able to connect to your server with like 20 or 30 millisecond delay because like it's just around the corner, like on the next block. It's crazy. Still pushing. Okay. Yeah, this is going to be slow. Configured like access, like logging into Docker, built the image. Of course, use the cache because like we rebuilt it already locally, but now is pushing it. And yeah, we just have to wait. I think the only way to speed this up is to do the actual build on a virtual machine in the cloud instead of building it locally and pushing it. So Ahmed Salam is asking this will then ship it in 50 minutes. Not cool for content, bro. Okay. Yeah. Come on, come on. Push it quickly. Yeah, I think we have to cut all this waiting time when we're republishing content because they're just going to be too slow and people are just waiting for a static screen to finish pushing. Yeah. I really want to be able to finish this before the ship it ends. Yeah, I think this would be a record for me. Like vibe coding an app, containerizing it and deploying it in under an hour. Yeah, I'm happy about this. I've always wanted to build a portfolio, like a website for myself, and I think this is a great starting point. Yes, I really wish I lived next to a Google data center or an IXP. Okay, if anyone has any technical questions, please just like ask away. Yes, exactly. So yeah, what Ahmed is saying, like, yeah, doing this on a VM would speed up the uploading process. Yeah. But yeah, it was not very smart of me deciding to do this on my machine. Like we can do it on a VM. I mean, this is all terminal based, so we can just SSH into the machine and just do everything through the terminal, like what we're doing here. Salam is saying that we need to add music breaks and ship it if we are pushing again. Yes, exactly. Yeah. I should find a way to entertain you guys while we're waiting for stuff. So here, like in Helix, I was giving my teammates a very hard time because of scrolling. But here I see like in Helix, scrolling is crazy. Like it skips, like it's like I'm doing page up while scrolling. The only way to be able to scroll naturally is through the keyboard keys. And I was giving our team hell because we were not able to like do both like scrolling quickly and like make it feel natural. So yeah, um, but it happens everywhere. Like these quirks with terminal apps are everywhere. Like they are insanely like building a UI is insanely difficult. And I keep seeing like I always thought like the issues we have with the Stakpak experience is just Stakpak, but then I keep finding a lot of terminal apps that have the same issues with like scrolling or compatibility. Like who would have thought that the native macOS terminal is pretty terrible and it basically like breaks every single TUI app ever. Yeah. Yeah, so for the Stakpak team, please yeah, it happens to everyone. Like terminals, building TUIs is pretty hard. Yeah, so it's virtually impossible to try read and scroll like with like a mouse wheel in Helix. I'm not sure if like yeah, I think the trackpad is actually better, but like the mouse wheel just like jumps around like crazy. Come on. It's very slow. Yeah, it would feel really down if yeah, we spent half of the ship it building or waiting for builds to finish. I think we have an upcoming feature that would make this much, much, much faster. But yeah, I can't announce it now until it's ready. But it would involve running this thing somewhere remotely in a data center. Yeah, if you can guess the hint. Wow, this is boring. Okay, we have 7 minutes left. And I really hope we get to deploy this before the 7 minutes run out. Come on. Oh, it feels like something is moving, but it's very slow. Whoa! Okay, it worked. So image built successfully and pushed, and now it's initializing the Terraform backend to do the actual deployment. Whoa! Okay. Doing Terraform plan. Okay, so it crashed because, yeah, it didn't do Terraform auto approve, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but yeah, let's apply. Like I wouldn't want to do Terraform auto approve in a bash script. I think it's just enough like to, yeah, just spit out a plan and apply. So what it's doing here is it's CDing and then applying. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's what I would do. Let's see if this would work. Okay, yeah, that's what I guessed. So the repository already exists because the bash script actually creates the repository, which is redundant. And we want to import it. So I'll ask it to import it in Terraform because I'd rather this being managed in Terraform. Ah, it's already doing that on its own. So it's going to import it into the Terraform state. So yeah, I would rather make this work and then go back to fix the script. So what it's doing here is doing Terraform import and importing the repository it created. And voila. Now Terraform wouldn't complain. So this is what I call Terraform state plumbing. And you have to do this whenever someone changes something outside of Terraform, which is we call configuration drift. Or if we do something like that, like we created something outside Terraform and the state is not in sync. or you try to refactor Terraform code. So Salam is asking that he had this discussion in a platform engineering community, and how do you envision how platform engineering will change in the next couple of years due to AI? So I gave actually a talk in the last platform engineering con about how platforms will change with AI. I think you guys can check that on YouTube. But mainly, like the main takeaway is you can use these agents as minion to build smarter, more intelligent interfaces. So instead of having to hard code a developer interface for your platform with Backstage, you would have something more intelligent, an abstraction that is not leaky and can evolve with your platform, instead of having these static abstractions that keep breaking and then you keep changing them. So yeah, we had found an issue. So error creating service Google API. The following reserved env names are provided. Port. These values are automatically set by the system. So this is something very specific to a Cloud Run that I didn't know anything about, being a Google Cloud Run newbie. So it's going to remove it. Okay. So how is it going to set the port? I'm not sure. I think my machine is struggling. Is this working? Yeah. Yeah, my machine is struggling. What is going on? What is going on? I think this session is frozen. Okay, so it's time to try out the resume feature. Yeah, here. And yep. Yeah, I think I crashed the terminal. Whoa. Okay, so it dropped my screen. Let me fix this now. Okay, here. So it fixed, like, removed the parameter, or like the env, and it's trying to apply again. So apparently you cannot set the port env in Google Cloud Run. Wow, it configured auto scaling. Interesting. Like, I wouldn't need auto scaling for for my landing page, like for my portfolio page, but nice, neat. It's creating. One minute left. Yeah, this one's going to be close. If we had even more, like one more bug, we're going to go over time. But yeah, you got to give me some slack. Like, we spent like 10 minutes waiting for builds. So I think I would still consider it a success if it takes, yeah, 10 extra minutes. Like, this is just overtime because of the time we lost building. Okay. So I have a question for you. When is the last time you vibe coded an app, containerized it, and deployed it in under an hour? Yeah, because like I feel a great rush. Like, vibe coding is cool. Okay, what happened? So error waiting for the service code message revision portfolio is not ready and cannot serve traffic. The user provided container failed to start and listen on port defined provided 8080 within the allocated timeout. This happens when the container port is misconfigured or timeout is too short. The health check timeout can be extended. Logs for revision. Okay, well, interesting. So let's debug this. I think it's, yeah, we didn't configure the right port. So it's probably the first reason, but let's see how Stakpak would figure this out. It's checking the logs. So on port, failed state is cancelled. Application exec likely failed. Application failed to start. Exec form. Okay. I'm not sure what's going on. So it's trying to run Docker entry point.shell, which doesn't exist in our Next.js standalone build. The issue is that Next.js standalone build mode creates a server.js file but I need to make sure it's listening on the correct port. Makes sense. But please don't tell me that we're going to wait for a build to be pushed again. Come on, come on. We're running on the extra time now. Standalone build isn't being created properly. Why is it removing the health check? Okay, let me check. Okay. So it isn't the container on its own, so I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, so it's going to build locally to see the output. We actually, we tested running the container, it worked. So I'm not sure why Cloud Run, there's some sort of discrepancy between what Cloud Run expects and what the container actually does. So this is odd. So it runs successfully locally, but it doesn't run on Cloud Run, which is weird. Let's see. So it figures out the issue is that we're not listening on the port Cloud Run expects. So what is it doing? So what does that do? Okay. I'm not sure what this change does, actually. I think it's... Again, I don't know why it would work locally, but wouldn't work on Cloud Run. But yeah, that's what Stakpak should figure out. It's rebuilding. Okay. Let me check the browser. Yeah, the app is running. Yeah, I checked my browser and the app is running. It's very weird. Why wouldn't it be working on Google Cloud Run? Yeah, it's working. But it was already working locally. That's weird. So Ahmed is asking, what is the maximum context of a session? So yeah, the session can go up to 1,000,000 token in context. I've myself, I've ran Stakpak for 200 messages continuously. But the thing is, performance degrade the longer the session gets. There are a couple of papers supporting that. So Claude will get dumber the longer you run the session. So what we do is we have a lot of context engineering or optimizations for the sessions to make it run longer. But again, yeah, it gets dumber. Okay, so built. I think it's going to push the image again. It's going to take a lot of time. And again, yeah, if this is going to take as long as the last time, yeah, I'm just going to like throw myself off the desk or something. I think there's a lot of layers cached. It shouldn't be, yeah, it shouldn't be slow. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's great. We pushed a fix a couple of weeks ago to prevent it from like reiterating again and again and again. But it seems like in some cases, like the agent's still too chatty. So this is something we're definitely going to work on. Like it's spitting out a lot of information here that's not really necessary. But yeah, as you can see, like Ahmed was asking about the context window, and the scratchpad is one of the techniques we use to manage the context. So we ask the agent to keep the most important information in a scratchpad, and this scratchpad stays like front and center in the context. So whenever like we're deleting messages, we're like optimizing the context, it would still have the scratchpad to have the most important stuff like front and center. That's why sometimes it like iterates and like echoes back the scratchpad again, which is not really necessary, but yeah. Okay, we got an error, so not ready again. Ha, come on. So you provide a container field to start or listen on the port defined provided by port 8080, which we tested that it actually works, which is crazy. Why is it not working? Maybe it needs more time for startup. Checking the logs again. So it's working locally, but not a Cloud Run. And what? Like we don't have a Docker entry point anywhere. So where did it define this? So like here, if you see like the portfolio app, deploy, Docker file, like yeah, the Docker file, we don't have this entry point. I think does Google Cloud Run expect a specific entry point to be able to run? That's weird. Permission field start. Okay, so let's focus on this. Okay, so let me stop here. Pause this here. We don't have user local container whatever. Why is Cloud Run expecting it? Can we configure the entry point to match our app? Yeah, anyone familiar with Cloud Run can help me out because I'm not sure why Cloud Run expects us to have a specific entry point while we didn't have an entry point. Like we didn't configure this anywhere. So looking there, Cloud Run is trying to execute this, which doesn't exist in our container. This is likely because Next.js standalone builds creates its own server structure. Okay, why? This is driving me crazy. Okay, where is the build file? Next standalone server. So, but next standalone. Yeah, there's nothing here. Yeah, there's nothing about like the entry point. That's very weird. Yeah, I think it's an issue with like the default Cloud Run configurations. Okay. How can we override the default Cloud Run entry point? Use our own. If this doesn't work, we'll just add the Docker entry point Cloud Run expects. Override the default entry point and start the application. Really? I would have think like do your research first on Docker entry points for Cloud Run. Because like I don't want to rush into this. Like it's like it looks like something very Cloud Run specific. That's why I don't like want to make assumptions. and do research first. And this is actually one of the patterns we're going to share about in the DevOps Days talk is you should prompt the agent to do its research first if it's getting into a corner or if you're doing something complicated, like something like this. Like this is something very specific to Cloud Run, and we should figure out like how to set up the entry point. So I just like ask it to commission like the dispatch this to the research agent. Yeah, we're 10 minutes over time, but I really appreciate your patience and your interest in like watching me suffer as I'm trying to figure out Google Cloud Run, which was supposed to be a super easy platform as a service solution. But again, like since when do these promises are true? Like ECS also promises to be a very easy Heroku-like platform as a service, but it's not. Like there's a lot of nuances with ECS as well. So yeah, why did I expect things to be easier with Cloud Run? Okay, did some research. Let's see if it figured something out. Based on my research, the exact format error is typically caused by an architecture mismatch or incorrect entry point configuration. The issue Cloud9 is trying to execute, which doesn't exist in Next.js standalone container, so it explicitly overrides the endpoint of it. Okay, so it seems pretty certain that this is going to fix the issue. So let's see if it would work. Like this is what like Stakpak tried to do, but I stopped it and asked it to research just to make sure. I'm still not sure, but let's see if it's going to work. Okay. Now we're rebuilding and pushing again. Yeah, this is a very, very long session for an agent. Pushing. This should be fast. We only changed the last layer. Now we're going to redeploy. Woo, hopefully it works this time. And if it does, I would have, yeah, learned something new about Cloud Run. Oh, it failed again. Okay. Yeah, we still have an issue, the same issue with the port. I'm starting to think maybe it's not the port issue, but the timeout is too short. So let's try ask it to extend the timeout. Maybe Next.js takes more startup time to be ready. Different approach. The issue seems to Next.js standalone. Okay. So what is it doing? It's reading the logs again. Okay. Uh-huh. So I actually got a different error this time. Fill to load node. What? What? Looks at the error pattern from my research. This is typically caused by trying to run a binary compiled for a different okay, yeah, it's my fault. So what I did is like I built the image for my architecture, which is an M3 or Next.js, which yeah, I did this exact same mistake in this Ship It session. We were building a container to run on ECS, and I just don't learn. I just don't learn. I think we have to code this somewhere in like in the Stakpak rulebook. Like I think we need to create a rulebook for serverless deployments, or like even add it to the system prompt. That yeah, be mindful of the architecture, because like I keep forgetting this every single time, and it keeps creating these issues where like I build it on a different architecture and deploy it on x86. And yeah, part of the problem is Apple for creating like making Arch like cool again, or Risk architecture cool again. But like part of me is me not being able to remember this, but another part is actually Stakpak not reminding me that I'm building for the wrong architecture, or not forgetting to validate the architecture before pushing. Yeah. So how painful this is going to take a lot of time, because I will need to rebuild the image and re-upload it again. And the last time we tried pushing the image, it took 15 minutes, which is crazy. And yeah, it's crazy. It's going to take a lot of time to recover from this. So yeah, I get it if you completely don't want to watch me keep suffering online, but I think I'm going to keep going to be able to like to record the final result with the app deployed. So then we can publish it and highlight my stupidity in the chapters, so you can skip me trying to build the wrong architecture and deploy it somewhere else. Yeah, time for a music break. Yeah, why do I keep doing the same thing again? Yeah. But I think it's really cool of Stakpak to figure this out. Like, I wouldn't have figured it out from this error, because this is a very stupid, weird error. So here it's complaining that it's not able to run node, an exact format error, and it says nothing about the architecture, nothing. And like how Stakpak figured this out, I don't know. So looking at their pattern from my research, it's typically caused by trying. Okay, so I think Stakpak took into consideration the Cloud Run documentation and remembered that when it saw the error, and it connected the dots to figure out this is because I'm building on an MMac and trying to deploy on a like x86 architecture, or like AMD 64, which is like the same architecture. So this is very smart. Like I would have spent ages trying to figure this out on my own. I'm like, trying to go through Stack Overflow, but this is great. So I still feel this is a win, and I'm happy about it. Although I'll have to like wait again for the image to be pushed. Okay, pushing again. Let me see. Yeah, we can actually try playing some background music. Yeah, let's play some lo-fi while we wait. No, it wouldn't take more than a day. It would definitely like take 20 more minutes, but definitely not a day. Yeah, no. I think I get what you mean. So I would definitely have given up on the first day, and then yeah, switch, like just throw in the towel, go to bed, and then wake up the next morning figuring out, okay, I'm building for the wrong architecture. At least now I have to be frustrated for like 50 minutes. I think their lo-fi is terrible. There definitely is something better here. No. No, I don't like StreamYard's music. So Salam is saying like it wouldn't have been better though if Stakpak sent you some details first to approve. Yes. So it would have been good if Stakpak actually tells me about this before I actually build. Like, be careful, you're building on a Mac OS on an M3, and this would mean it wouldn't work in Cloud Run. So if it mentioned this much early on, it would have saved me a lot of time. And I think I've faced this issue repeatedly enough on different cloud providers. So here we face it like with Cloud Run, but it happened before in a Ship It session with ECS. So I think like this is happening often, that we should actually create a rulebook about these architectures. Like make sure when you're running on a Mac OS and you're building and pushing an image, you're not building it for Mac OS, you're building it for the target architecture. I think we got an idea for the next rulebook to release. I don't think it's fair to compare Cloud Run to ECS, because in ECS you have to create a cluster and then pick like the backend service you run the nodes on, the kind of workloads, and then deploy. But like Cloud Run, we didn't need to go through all of that. So definitely Cloud Run is much easier than ECS. Yeah. So Salam is saying yes, but it always needs human workflow to question it before big time building. I mean, it depends. Like if like the user is someone like me, which doesn't have a lot of experience with Google Cloud Run, I wouldn't have like thought of asking the right questions. So I think in this case, the rulebook or like Stakpak should ask me about this, like should make me aware that this is a potential issue. So here, like Stakpak actually figured it out, but like after trying for a while, I didn't figure it out. Like Stakpak figured out like what was going wrong. I was not able to figure it out myself. Although I did Cloud Run deployments before, like years back, but yeah, I can't remember. Like I couldn't remember this. Just waiting for it. Yeah, we definitely need to cut these parts. Like people wouldn't want to just watch me scratch my head and wait. So yeah, opens a discussion for Copilot versus agent. Yeah, definitely. So I still think agents are sort of copilots, because like as you see, like in an agent like Stakpak, it stops and asks you for permission and asks you further clarifying questions, and it keeps iterating. So an agent, I think at least like the agent can be a copilot, but it can also dispatch an agent to do something in the background without worrying about what's going to happen. So for example, I can show you here. So we have like a feature behind a feature flag called subagents. And these subagents can actually run like errands for you unattended, like asynchronously. But I think to do this, like I have to pull the Stakpak sandbox image. Is it pulled already? Yeah, I think it's already here. So yeah, if I do Stakpak and then, let me start. So if I do Stakpak enable sub agents, I can actually ask Stakpak, okay, so spin up a sub agent to enumerate the resources in my Google Cloud account and return a report, for example. So I'm not sure like if I configured Google Cloud credentials for my sub agents yet. So this is a very experimental feature. So here what it does is it spins up a sandbox research agent. So this agent is an agent running within the Warden sandbox. So it cannot do any destructive operations in my cloud account. So I would trust it to run in the background, to iterate stuff, iterate like and figure out, enumerate everything in my cloud account and then report back. Yeah. So I can just like pause here because it's running in the background. Whoa, okay. Wait for it. Yeah, we pushed the image. Amazing. Yeah. So while we wait for this, we should actually finish the deployment because like we got sidetracked here. Yeah. Now it's time to deploy to figure out like if Stakpak got it right. Okay, this is running. Okay. So now it's applying again. Let's hope it works this time. Still creating. It's taking longer than last time, which might be a good sign that the container didn't crash on start. Yeah, so there's definitely some progress. Whoa, it's complete. Wow. It worked. Okay. So yeah, that's amazing. So this is the service URL. Oh, whoa. Whoa, it's just scrolling too fast. Okay, so this is the service URL. Just copy this. And let me try. It's working. So here, let me stop sharing this and share the other screen. So here, let me share the browser. Yeah, allow. And here. So if you can see this, this is the actual live app. So here you see like it's deployed on Cloud Run, the URL, and it's actually working. Amazing. So yeah, we vibe coded a portfolio app. It pulled the image from my GitHub profile and the highlighted projects. And yeah, and more details. And that's it. So if you're watching this and you like Stakpak, I want you to know that the agent is completely open source and it's written in Rust. So just head to it and start it. It supports us. And yeah, we'd love to hear suggestions about like the what else we can do with with agents live, what do you want us to do? And yeah, I think that's it. So I want to show you just like if you still want to see this. So once I ended up this session here, I got some statistics. So we're trying to work on this heuristic to show you how much time you save when using Stakpak. And you see here, like we saved like 90 minutes of coding, 51 minutes exploring code bases, and 20 minutes of like iterating. And you see this is super conservative. So it says here like we saved 3 hours on this setup. So instead of an hour and a half, it would have taken us like 4 hours and a half, which is almost like half a workday. but I think it would have taken me longer. So these are conservative numbers, but we're trying to figure this out. Yeah. And yeah, while we were doing that, someone asked something about like spinning up agents. And what we did here is we actually like spin up a Stakpak session and asked Stakpak to spin up a sub agent to do some investigation to figure out like the Google Cloud access. And you would say is installed but authentication failed due to read-only file system preventing credentials from being okay. So I was not able, it was not able to scrape. So it scraped some information about like the cloud resources here. And okay, so it found out that I'm running something Cloud Run. So it enumerated. I think it initially failed, but then it worked, which is weird, but yeah, it worked. So the sandbox runs with read-only file access, read-only file system access, but it also can run commands that cannot destruct my cloud account. So I can trust this to run an analysis against my Google Cloud account without it failing. And you see here that it enumerated my GCP account I created for this. So it found the portfolio app. It found like public URLs of the app, the container image I deployed, and the registry I created. And yeah, it found an IAM configuration, the service account for the portfolio app, and it's publicly accessible, and highlighted some security issues. So this is something you can never trust another agent. It also did like a cost analysis. So this is something you can never trust another agent to do, which is run something in the background and make sure it wouldn't break your cloud account. And that's because of the technology we developed as a sandbox for Stakpak. Yeah, so that's it. We went 30 minutes over time, but I think this was amazing. Like we learned new things about Cloud Run. I finally got to build my portfolio app and publish it in Next.js. And yeah, this was amazing. So see you next week. If you have any ideas, just join Discord and tell us. And thank you everyone for keeping up with us throughout this Ship It session. And have a nice day. Bye.